I've only killed 3 still.
I'm going off a map. I hate this Rhino.
I'm getting lit up.
Who was that?
Oh, it was me.
Let's begin! Sabre VR is an online deathmatch game for up to 12 players. You can choose to battle it out in one of 3 mechs that each come with a unique ability. Each ability does need to recharge over time. The game is played with 2 move controllers, and to move around you aim them in the direction you want to go. To stop, you hold them upright. It almost feels like you're holding 2 flight sticks, but don't worry, the controls here work incredibly well. I was actually very surprised with how fluid they are. It does take a very tiny bit of time to get used to them, but honestly, they really have nailed these controls. Each mech can jump quite high, and it's probably the best bit about the game. It allows for some fun traversal around each map, and also gives an extra edge to each battle. As like in most games, you want the high ground when engaging in combat, but here you have a massive benefit from it, especially if you're playing seated, as you can keep your gaze on your enemy on the ground more easily. So not only is jumping a great bullet dodging mechanic, but it also allows you to potentially deal more damage more quickly. You can't get into a routine of following a player's jump height and landing time though, as the mechs do come with another ability that can be used at any time in the air. This ability is gliding. Some of the most thrilling fights come from when 2 mechs gracefully glide and circle around each other in the air. It really is very cool, and once again, the move controls here work so well. All the actions you can perform just become second nature. You also have a shield, which can be used to defend the front of your mech. It is quite a small space on the front that prevents you from taking damage. If an enemy is a little to the side of you, they can still hit you. So considering how often mechs circle each other, it's likely you won't feel the need to use the shield that much. The first mech is a wolf. This one's ability is a cloaking device. You're not entirely invisible when it's activated, but it is still very close, so you can certainly use it to get the drop on an opponent who hasn't already seen you, and even if they have, it can still be quite tricky for them to spot you. The next mech is a Sabre. Their ability is a roar. This shows you where people are on the map. It's alright, as it allows you to pinpoint enemy positions behind walls, but considering you have a radar at the top of your HUD that shows you the direction of other Sabres when shots are fired, it doesn't give you a massive extra advantage. The final mech is a Rhino. This one's ability is a ram attack. This forces you forward with so much speed that it will instantly kill anything in its way. The problem is that it carries on going for quite a long period of time, so unless you make sure there is some scenery behind an enemy that will stop you in your tracks, you could potentially fall right off the map. It's hard to even time this move to hit an enemy too, as they will likely be jumping around everywhere. All the mechs have different amounts of health and turning speeds. This does try to balance out each one with their abilities, but ultimately it makes the Rhino mech quite underpowered. It does have the most health, but it turns the slowest. So if it's up against either of the other 2 mechs that turn quicker, it's at a massive disadvantage, as the other 2 can quickly get out of its firing line. The Rhino really does need to be balanced out a lot more. The same can be said for weapons. Each mech comes with 2 weapon slots. Here you can place weapon types such as blasters, railguns, missile pods, and plasma cannons. You receive new weapons from crates. These are rewarded to you after each match, as well as some credits, and you can also unlock a new coloured skin. Or you could simply buy the colours you want, and there is a massive amount of colour combinations to choose from. You do need enough slots to open up new weapon crates though. These can be bought with credits. You can only have up to 20 slots, so when you reach that amount, you will have to sell some of your older weapons. The weapons come in different rarities, and there's actually quite a lot of them, so it's obviously best to sell the lowest quality weapons when you have filled up 20 slots. Now the problem with the weapons is that some are much more powerful than others, so if a person has been playing the game longer than another, they will likely have a gun that can do a lot more damage. If you're just starting the game for the very first time, it's going to be a rough few matches before you get weapons that allow you to put up a decent fight back. Also hurting your chance of survival is the health regeneration times. If you have just been victorious in a battle, you will likely die in the next, unless you're up against someone with a much worse weapon than you. There are no health pickups on the map. Actually, there isn't any pickups on the map at all. The game really could have benefited greatly from health boosters. The maps are quite forgettable. There are 15 in total, and most of them don't really have any distinct structures that really separate them from the rest. Some have different colour schemes and some have very vertical layouts, but apart from that, nothing really pops out. Stuff does pop in now and then though, but oddly, it really only occurs on a handful of maps. It's not that constant, but it certainly happens more than it should. There is no background music in the game. It does make these maps feel empty. The only time music does appear is when you're near the end of a match. It's a shame, because the end music is pretty good and absolutely suits the style of this game. Although the maps are not the best, they are still a lot of fun to navigate around thanks to the jumping and gliding mechanic. It really does save them from being a bit boring. Now we come to the main issue, and that is that there is hardly anyone playing on the servers. So as a reviewer, it's incredibly hard for me to talk about how well the game is balanced, depending on how many players there are in each map at a single time. But I do have a rough idea of how it will play out. It's incredibly obvious that the majority of the maps have been designed around a full server due to players spawning locations, and how big the maps actually are. A one-on-one game is very dull. You're either looking for each other for long periods of time, or are dying straight after you have killed the other player due to the health regeneration speeds. Playing with 6 people, which is half of a server, is so much better, most of the time anyway. More frantic battles happen obviously due to more mechs meeting at once, and you're nearly always not that far away from your next battle. I say nearly, because some of the maps have definitely been designed around the max number of players. A full server is where this game shines. It's absolutely how the game is meant to be played, as it's fun and action packed for the whole time. I really wish I was able to play in more of these, because I really did have a blast. Considering the server's low population, I do think the game would benefit from the maps being chosen, depending on how many people are inside a lobby before each match. The trophy list is about what you would expect from this type of online game. Some are tied to playing and winning 100 matches, and some are tied to destroying a certain amount of sabres with a type of weapon. If the servers become a lot more populated, I don't think many of these would be too hard to get, apart from a couple. One is for spending 1 million credits, and the other is for selling 50 legendary weapons. During my time playing, I don't think I've even unlocked one legendary yet, so I honestly have no idea how time consuming it would be to unlock this trophy. Even though this game has quite a few things that make certain parts unbalanced, the bottom line is that it's still a lot of fun to play, mainly due to the excellent mech controls. At times, the game can feel incredibly solid, and the many unlockable weapons shows that a lot of time was spent on making this a highly replayable experience. But then other parts of the game just lack the same attention and seem unfinished. Even with these negatives, I would have still recommended it because there really is a good game here, and after a couple of patches, it really could be amazing. I honestly haven't had this much fun in a competitive multiplayer game for quite some time, but the one thing that prevents me from fully recommending it is the extremely low server population. I do think this is certainly a game to keep an eye on, but without a healthy player base or AI bots to go up against whilst you're waiting for people to join, you could be waiting in the menus for a long time. If you have already bought the game or are thinking about it, take a look at my comment under this video, because I will help out with setting up some matches. I really do think this game deserves it. I really want this game to succeed, and I hope it does, because it is one of the rare multiplayer games that I would love to return to over and over again. As always, if you found this review helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more PSVR content.